Okay, in this movie, I'm going to show you how the CreateJS function works. So we're going to go to our code and we're going to steal it. And here it is, the whole thing, just the function. So I'm copying that. I'm going to create a new document. Hit create. I'll create a new layer. Name the top one actions. And paste my code here. And bring in some artwork too. And I'm going to create a box that's going to be animated and another box that's going to function as a button. So I'll go ahead and do an F8 here. Now normally in other examples you've seen me make these into movie clips because I can't control the inside of a button. But since I'm using the CreateJS, it doesn't matter whether this is a button or not because I can modify the button scale, transparency, or whatever I want to modify. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and make this into a button. I don't need to see this advanced stuff. That's for Swift files. So this will go ahead and just so that it has a name. Call that button. And this over here, I'm going to give that an F8 as well. This is going to be a movie clip. And I'll go ahead and call this target. And hit OK. All right, so I need to give an instance name to this, so I'll call this my underscore btn. And I'll call this my underscore mc for movie clip. Okay, so now I have the two things that I can modify, and I forgot I put them in the wrong place, so let me select both of these. I'm going to do Command X. I meant to lock that. Come back over here, and I'm going to paste in place, Command Shift V, so that way they line up where they're supposed to be. Okay, so now I need to start writing some code. So I want to create an event listener for this, so I'm just going to do it the easy way. I'll go to the code snippets, and I'll open up my event handlers here, and I'll do a mouse click event, and I'm done with that. And this is programmed right now, so whenever I click on this, it'll display that the mouse has been clicked. Okay, while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and center this. So I'll click on the stage, go to more settings, and center to stage, and hit OK. And I'll change the background just so it shows up a little bit better. So let's test that. Okay, so that's working the way it's supposed to. Okay, so now what I want, when I click on this, I want this to enlarge. And then I'm going to set it up so that there's a toggle so it'll go back to the original size if I click on this button twice. But for now, I'm just going to program this button to enlarge. So let's go into the code. And let me get this as big as I can get it, just so we can see all our code. And I'm going to start off by stealing this line. I'm not selecting the word function. I'm selecting from the beginning of the function name to the last parentheses. I'm going to do Command C for copy. And now I'm going to replace the alert code in here. And at the very end of this line over here, I'll go ahead and do a semicolon. Okay, so I'm going to clean up my code. I prefer to have the curly bracket on the top on the same line where the function is being defined. Okay, so this would cause a problem if I ran it right now. And that's because it's got all these equal things. These equals are being used over here to define the function, and the variables, the parameters, are being established to be entered into the function. So this tells me what they're going to be for. So for example, if I select the word target and I do a Command Shift M in here, or rather Command M, that makes that into a comment, but now I'm able to go steal the name Let me do an F9 here, close my codes. I can come back in here, and that was called my MC, this guy over here. So we'll go back over here to F9 and come back here. And so what I can do now in here is type in, don't forget the word this, and then my underscore MC. So whatever I tell this thing to do, this in here is now ignored. So the delay, I'm not going to modify that. I'll go ahead and make that into a comment as well, Command M. The alpha, I'm not going to modify that, so I'll leave that in the null setting. And for the scale, I do want to modify that, so I'll leave that alone for now. And I don't think I want to modify anything else. So from here on out, I can just go ahead and delete everything up until I get to my Y scale right there. And so I'll just delete that. Okay, so for the Y scale and the X scale, I want it to increase in size. So I'm going to double the size of the box. And that means this also gets doubled. Okay, so those are my settings. And we can take it for a test run now. So let's double check the word this is in the name of the movie clip. And it's modifying my movie clip. It's the button that's generating it. Let's see what happens. So there it goes. So clicking on it doesn't do anything. I want it to get small back to the original size. At this stage of the game, I can clean all this extra stuff out because I don't need it anymore. I know what I set and it's good to go. So I'll just go ahead and leave this in null, leave this in null. And so this first one in here goes to the target. The next one is the delay. This is the delay. I'm going with the default settings. This in here is the alpha. I'm going with the default settings, which is 100% because that's what the current target is set at. And here's my scale right in here. So now I want it to shrink when I click on it again. So I'm going to copy this and I'll do a return. And let me do a couple of extra returns to give this a little bit more real estate. Okay, so I'm going to do an if. And what I want to do, if the movie clip here, and I want to know its scale, but only in X. So I'm going to set both X and Y to the same number, so I don't need to modify or reference both X and Y. One's good enough, because if it's been set, it's been set. So I want to know if the scale in X is equal, and I'm going to do a triple equal to make absolutely sure. If it's set at 1, then it's going to do the following. So let me do my curly brace here for the if statement and move this code in here. And I'll clean that up again. Now this should work, no problem. So that's going to enlarge. Okay, so now presumably once I clicked it, it's set to 2, and so this isn't going to run ever again. So now I need an else statement. And I'll clean my code a little bit. Okay, so then I want it to go back to 1. So that way the X is set up. So let me clean that up again one more time. Okay, so now I should be able to toggle between the two. It gets it back on the size that I want. And if you wanted to modify any of the other parameters, you can. You just have to be careful when you lay them out. But the easiest way to do it is to copy the whole thing and make comments out of the parameters as they're being called out in the function. So that's all there is to it. Then it's just a matter of plugging in your code into what you want to modify.